Monday to Friday at 12:30 p.m. only on Bloomberg Quint.
Hello and welcome to Hot Money Technicals on Bloomberg Quint Live, India's first digital live streaming business news service. This is a show which gives you a complete wrap of all the stocks that are buzzing in trade. I'm Darshan Mehta. Let's welcome our experts in Aditya Agarwala of Securities, Gaurav Bissa of LKP Securities, and Kunal Rambhia of The Streets joined me on the show. Many thanks to all of my guests for joining me. Before we start with our guest round, let's go across to Yash Upadhyay, who has a chart on Tata Motors. Good afternoon, Yash. What does the chart indicate?
Good afternoon, Darshan. So Tata Motors clearly has been in the news in the recent times, a positive news flow, and that has propelled the stocks from the level of about 140 to as high as 200 when there were reports coming in that the company is looking to hive off its loss-making arm, which is Jaguar Land Rover. What we have seen since then is that it has been correcting, it has come under pressure, and thrice in the last 6 months the mark of 200 that has been a mark of resistance because it has not managed to take it out. This is the daily chart over the last 6 months, and the red box shows the 200 mark wherein it has not been able to cross above. On the lower panel is the MACD, the blue line that has given a negative crossover in today's day of trade. We are seeing that the stock is under pressure as well. It has been falling for the last 5 to 6 trading sessions, which means that clearly the bears are taking their grip on the stock once again, and it could weaken further.
Yes, what is the historical trend every time this MACD changed the color or moved over on the other side? What was the impact?
Specifically for the MACD, Darshan, 5 out of the last 8 times that this has happened, the stock would have corrected almost 6% over the next 1 month.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Yash. Aditya, what's your view on Tata Motors? It's somehow fundamentally there's nothing right about it at this point of time, but on the charts, is there any sign of further weakening, or is it the time to start buying Tata Motors?
I wouldn't say it's the time to start nibbling into Tata Motors because it's not come out of the woods yet. So there is pressure, downward selling pressure, no doubt about that. And as Yash pointed out, 200 is acting as a major resistance which it fails to take out every time it makes a dash towards 200. From there we see selling pressure. On the downside though, 170 to about 172 is a strong support zone. If one goes ahead and sells the stock, probably that could be the target, immediate targets, considering the fact that it is already at 179. I wouldn't go ahead and sell the stock for 171, 172. But yes, I'll closely watch around those levels of 171, 172. If it holds, then probably there can be some buying witness. Otherwise, I'll completely avoid the stock.
Okay, avoid the stock. Gaurav, what's your sense of Tata Motors?
I would not short here for a couple of reasons. One, if you look at the daily charts, the 55 as well as the 80 and DMA also place at levels of 175. And as Aditya mentioned, that 170, 172 zone is the immediate support area. So for me, the risk reward is not that favorable. One, it is going to halt at levels of 170, 175, and below that also you are having a support. So for me, selling here would not make too much of a sense, but any jump towards 183, 184 can be sold. Keep a stop loss of 189. On the downside, 175 is what I would be looking out.
So technically, you wouldn't buy this stock even if it moves on the higher side. You would use that opportunity to sell Tata Motors.
Yeah, if you look at the last few months, 200 call option has been seeing good amount of riding. People are quite comfortable selling a 200 call option. We saw a strong bounce back coming from 180 towards the level of 195, 198. Again, it fizzled out around 200 mark. So as long as trading below 200 levels, there will be comfortable selling happening in OTM call options. So for me, sell or rise would be a tad bit better.
Till the time it stays below 200. Okay. Kunal, what's your sense of Tata Motors?
So, if I try to look at the higher degree time frames like monthly and weekly, so on monthly chart, we saw that the stock is in the broad range of 155, 160 on the higher side, 200.
Okay.
6 months. Okay. And if I look at the weekly chart, falling, expanding wedge formation. So, I would think of buying near say 165 mark. Okay. Selling near 200 makes sense, but by any chance the stock manages to cross about 200, I think all of us will agree to, the stock is heading for 220, 230 marks soon.
Okay, so that's the view that's coming in on Tata Motors. It's a counter that has been under pressure of late, and ever since it came out with the big loss that it did in the third quarter, the counter has been under tremendous pressure. But we'll start with the first round this time around. Aditya Agarwala has a chart on Pidilite. Let's have the chart, Aditya, if you could come up and explain what your stance is and what is the indicator that you've used.
Okay. So I'll start from this part of the chart. If you clearly take a look at what I've indicated out here, stock is forming an inverted head and shoulders. What is an inverted head and shoulder is it is the opposite of a head and shoulders pattern, wherein you have two two shoulders and a head, which makes a opposite side in the normal head and shoulders pattern. This implicates that there is bullishness in the stock, and once it breaks out of the neckline, which is this one around 1190 to about 1200 zone, it will resume its upward trajectory and head to levels of 1300 to about 1400 as well. What we have seen in the chart is from long about June 2018, stock went into a consolidation and has formed an inverted head and shoulders, and it has now making an attempt to break out of this neckline, which is around 1195 to about 1200. Also, if you take a look at the weekly candlestick pattern in trade, this time around it's forming a bullish candle. So it did form a similar bullish candle out here. Now it has formed a small bearish candle previous week, and this week again it's trying to form a bullish candle, which is like a bullish engulfing pattern. Now if it breaks out of 1190 to about 1200 zone, we expect the stock to head towards levels of 1275 to 1315 in the near term. Also, if I plot, there's no volume chart out here. If I plot the volume chart on the weekly chart, this week's candle is backed by extremely healthy volumes.
Okay.
That tells me that the breakout, the up move that we are witnessing in the stock this week is backed by very good volumes, healthy volumes. So the breakout from the neckline is evitable, and probably in the next coming weeks we can see the stock breaking out from this neckline. Also, if I take a look at the RSI, it has taken support at the 50 zone, which is the lower end of the bull zone, and from there it has turned upwards, which tells me that there is upward momentum in the stock, no doubt about that. The moment it breaks out of the neckline, it is yet to break out for this week, but the moment it breaks out, we'll see levels of 1275.
Would you, so it's at 1180 right now.
Right.
Would you buy at this level, or you would wait for this 1190 or 1200 level to be broken before buying?
So I would go ahead and buy at these levels purely because again this week I'm seeing a good bullish candle backed by extremely healthy volumes on the weekly chart. That tells me that buyers are back in the stock. Or alternatively, buy at current levels and add on to this position the moment it breaks out of that neckline, which is around 1195.
What stop, if someone is buying at this level, what stop loss should
Or
he keep?
1120 will be a decent stop, which would be around the lows of this candle. The moment it goes below this, I would be out of the trade.
Okay.
So the risk to reward would also be in my favor of going long.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Aditya. Gaurav, would you buy Pidilite at 1180?
No, this is the pattern that even I have been following for Pidilite, and unfortunately, whenever I ask my clients to be ready to buy because it's on the verge of giving a breakout, it again gives a false sense of breakout and again drifts down. Today is the same case from making high of 1190, 1195, it's down to 1170, 1180. For me, it's a good stock. Momentum is quite strong. As you mentioned about the RSI, that is also quite positive. But for me, I would buy about levels of 1200. Keep a stop loss of 1150, 1140. On the upside, we can expect 1300, 1320 coming in a small period of time. So for me, I would buy once the breakout is done. Then we have a confirmation.
What strategy would you employ? Because what I've seen is that even he said 1200 this thing. Should you keep a buying stop loss for Pidilite? Because once that crosses in, a lot of buying momentum will start. Is that a strategy that you would employ, or would you wait for a consolidation about 1200 before making a trade?
No, if by end of today we are trading around levels of 1190, 1195, then yes, we can buy because then we can anticipate it opening with a gap up on Monday. But if that does not happen, then I would wait for the time being and I would buy only if it crosses above level of 1200. At 1175, 1180, it is not very risky, but there is no confirmation as yet. So trend is very strong. It has already given a channel breakout. If you look at the right hand shoulder, it's given a channel breakout already. But for this particular pattern, if it breaks about 1200, there will be a confirmation. We can expect a very strong up move coming in a matter of few days.
Okay, what about you, Kunal? Is that the same logic that you also are looking at, or do you have a contrarian view?
No, the view is in line with their view itself. But now, this is a stock which I'm following since 2011. Right from 2011 till now, this stock has never been below 55 and 100 exponential weekly moving averages. So whenever it comes to that level, that's the best buying opportunity and keep the trend. The trend is intact. So this stock has so what I have noticed is this stock has a tendency of showing the false breakouts many times. So definitely, if someone wants to trade on the breakout, wait for the stock to give a closing beyond 1200, 1210, and then go. Otherwise, this is a good stock.
Is it a daily closing or a weekly closing?
No, weekly closing. I would wait for the weekly closing. Otherwise, this stock is the best to accumulate near 1050, 1075 mark.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in. I think 1200 is the level that we need to watch out for Pidilite. Let's move on to the next one, and that's a chart on Engineers India. Gaurav, what's the sense that you're getting? Of late, it's been rather volatile, or in fact, it's been consolidating, in fact.
It is exactly consolidating. If you look at the long-term charts, these are monthly charts, long-term charts, is taking support from this trend line. Every time it has come, approached near this trend line level, it has bounced back. This is a wedge, rising wedge pattern.
Firstly, what's this trend line? How did you arrive at it?
We have just connected the lows from this particular level, from 2008 onwards.
Okay.
A decade of...
and the highs on the highest.
Yeah, the highs we have touched. These are basic channel support you're talking about. This is where the real juice lies. This is called harmonic pattern. Last time when we discussed it was about Ashok Leland, where we discussed it went from 78 towards my target of 9,800 rupees. So this time also this is a different pattern. We call it a cipher pattern. This is a harmonic pattern. It's basically working on different Fibonacci ratios. This must be 38%. This is around 78%. So it generally comes around level of 105, 108 around those levels, and it's already given a trigger over here. So as long as trading above the levels of 105, we can see a strong momentum coming in. These are monthly charts. One, it's formed near the strong multi-year support area on the monthly charts. So I think we can expect a strong momentum coming in. It can go towards the level of 150, 160 also. That can be expected. The time frame for this would be around 3 months.
Okay.
And the stop loss for this will be, as long as trading above 100, that can be used as a stop loss.
So would you accumulate anywhere above 100 or would you buy now?
I would buy at the current prices, and if you see a small dip towards 105, 108, you can buy at those levels also. So at 112, 113, stop loss of 100 rupees and target of 150, I think the risk reward is also quite favorable.
Are volume supporting the move that, because it's consolidating here, there's a high probability it may even go down here. Are volume supporting the up move?
You know, Darshan, I would tell you one thing. In these patterns, if you look at these patterns, it's a consolidation pattern here over here. So you will not see too much of volume participation. When you need volume participation, when you have a breakout, like we discussed Pidilite earlier, a breakout with volumes is what people look at it. Here you might not find that volumes, but once you see an uptick coming in, then the volumes may ultimately follow. For here, I think even at these volume scenario also, which is not very low, let me remind you, but at multiple support area, I think this is a good stock to buy.
Okay, and you would buy at this level up to 100 levels?
Up to 105, I don't think it will go below 100.
Okay, many thanks for that. Thank you so much for that. 3-month strategy is what Gaurav has indicated. Kunal, Engineers India, what's the sense that you're gathering?
So again, the pick is definitely the fantastic one. But if I look at the, again, weekly charts, why am I focusing on weekly chart is just because, we saw the stocks rallying by almost 15% from the bottom across the market. So right from 2013, this is the second time when the stock is giving bullish divergences on the indicators. Falling wedge formation is happening on the weekly chart. So, this is the best stock to accumulate near, say, 110, keeping the same stop loss as mentioned by Gaurav. On the higher side, if someone wants to trade on the breakout, wait for the stock to give a closing beyond 122. Above 122, 123, the stock is poised for at least 155, 160 levels. Okay, so it's a positional bet.
Okay, so positional bet again, and Kunal also and Gaurav had also indicated it's a 3-month bet. Aditya, would you agree or you have a different view?
I would buy above 117. That is the breakout level for the stock. The moment it breaks out of 117, definitely the stock will get into an upward momentum. At the moment, it is losing its momentum. Every time it makes a dash towards 117, we see selling pressure coming into the stock, and on the downside 109 is a good support for the stock. So my preference would be to buy above 117.
Okay, so that's multiple strategies that are coming in on Engineers India, but I think the consensus view is that the counter does not look bearish. It doesn't look bad at all. It should be accumulated. Next, let's invite Kunal Rambhia, who has a chart on another PSU, which actually BEML and BL over the past few days have done well. BEML.
Right. So, the observation actually starts right from 2009 and 10.
Okay.
So, look at this last rally which happened here. Stock actually made a new bottom after that, surpassing the low of the 2009, 2010 also. That was actually a sell indication looking at all technical parameters, but the wonderful observation here was that the stock managed to take a support at 114.6% of reverse retracement. Same thing happened recently. Now, if I come to the present situation, rally from say 750, 800 levels to 2000 levels, stock actually managed to surpass this level on the lower side, but it halted exactly at 114.6% retracement. If I look at the indicators, can we zoom on the indicators? So, on indicators front, we can always see that we can see that the stock is actually making a higher bottom compared to 2013 bottom, but the indicators are constantly making lower bottoms, but that's known as hidden bullish divergence on the RSI front. Coming back to the price chart again, we actually see a typical traditional pattern, which is inverse head and shoulder getting formed. So this is clearly sign of accumulation. Keeping all things in mind, this is the best stock to accumulate right from the present level itself to 940, which is the neckline target, trigger out level, keeping the stop loss of mid of these levels,
which is
around say around 750, 650 or something. So that's already mentioned. And on the higher side, I'm expecting the stock to reach 1150 and 1350.
What's the time frame you?
So I'm looking out for the target because it's a weekly chart. I'm expecting the stock to reach those levels in a couple of months, say 3 months at least.
Okay, so it's a positional call that's coming in on BEML. Obviously, that's the move that's happened. The rally did happen on account of a lot of news in terms of stake sale. When the government denied it, that was the time the counter did manage to fall. So that was the fundamental bit on it. Gaurav, BEML, what's your sense?
I agree with the targets that he's mentioned. Also, I would like to add that when you look at the inverse head and shoulder pattern, it's a reversal pattern. So the efficacy of the pattern is more when we see it at the bottom of the trend or after a correction. So yes, it can be bought. It can head towards a level of anywhere around 200 points to 3 points from the current price cannot be ruled out. It would be a positional bet, and one is to have patience because there will be some consolidation. We are quoting at 11,400, mid-cap index at very much high level, so there will be some consolidation, but the pattern looks fantastic, the stock looks fantastic. It can be on the radar.
Okay, what about you?
Definitely, I'll go ahead and buy the stock because
even at this level.
Yes, even at current levels, and if it makes a dip towards 950, I would add on to the long positions because definitely I'm looking at an upwards targets of minimum 1190 to about 1500 on the upside in the coming months. So I would rather buy and hold on to the stock. It will give you decent upside.
Okay, that's a consensus bullish call, but more often it's a positional call that's been spoken about. Let's move on and address the next stock. Aditya has a sell call on Apollo Hospitals. Over the past few days, the counter has been extremely volatile. The big drop came in recently in terms of the promoter pledge issues that came in post the numbers. Post that it's consolidating here.
So it's trading much below the levels that I had given. It's around 1115 to about 1110. And what we take a look at from the chart pattern is it's formed a bearish engulfing pattern in trade today. Yesterday was a small candle, white candle, and today it's followed by
just explain bearish engulfing to our
so
viewers.
What happens is a small white candle is followed by a big bearish candle, a big red candle, which engulfs the previous body of the white candle. So if you clearly take a look at this candle, it's a small white candle, and this today's candle has clearly engulfed the yesterday's white body. That tells me that there is further weakness in the stock, and if I make a channel, stock has broken down from the channel neckline in trade today as well. Along with that, if I just go a little backtrack the stock, it is making a 5-wave corrective pattern. So this was the wave 1, wave 2 was a pullback, this was a wave 3 sharp move, fall back, this was a wave 4 corrective pullback again, which again faced resistances at moving averages, and now it has resumed its 5th wave downward trajectory. So I believe the stock will extend its further downside momentum from current levels. It can easily slide all the way down to 1000 as well in the coming weeks. Along with that, if I move to the weekly time frame, stock is on the verge of a breakdown from a head and shoulders pattern. In the previous stock I talked of an inverted head and shoulders. This is a head and shoulders, bearish head and shoulders, and the neckline is again at 1090 levels. If it breaks those levels of 1090, stock will again slide all the way down to 1000 levels, and stop loss can be placed around 1200.
1200. So it's a positional up or down stick of almost 100 rupees.
Definitely.
That you see 120 rupees with a stop loss of close to 80 rupees. Okay, and how soon do you expect this to happen?
I believe this can happen over a period of 2 weeks.
My question is, should you short now? Should you short at a higher?
No, I'll short even at current levels and add on to it the moment it goes below around 1150. If it moves below 1150, I'll further add on to the shorts because this definitely is moving south.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Aditya. Kunal, obviously pledge share concerns are there. That's the fundamental view, but technically, do you see a big breakdown?
Yeah, certainly. So what Aditya highlighted is a perfect pattern. If I synchronize the chart, it can be head and shoulder also. If I just look at the last leg, then it's an inverse cup and handle formation. All said and done, the stock is definitely poised for 10% down. But I'm waiting for the breakdown below this mentioned support mark, which is 1100 mark. So below 1100 on the closing basis, certainly the stock is poised for 10%.
On a closing basis, Gaurav, third thumbs down.
I would also short it, but not at the current levels. 1080, 1090 are two candles where we saw panic selling happening, and we saw a bounce back coming from those levels. And from there on, we saw some amount of O addition happening in the future segment as well. If you look at last few days, we're not seeing some bumper sort of short positions getting built. Trend is weak, but I would short only below levels of 1080, 1085.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in, the consensus view that the counter probably will head to levels of 1000 if levels of 1100 is broken in trade on a closing basis. That's about it. The next stock that we want to talk about is Kandla International. Gaurav, what's the sense? Let's pull up the chart. It's a bullish chart.
Yeah, it is a bullish chart, and this particular pattern we have, I think this is the third time we have discussed this pattern. It's the inverse head and shoulder pattern. As I mentioned, after a correction, the efficacy of this particular pattern, it increases manifold. It's a reversal pattern. Second, within this particular frame, a smaller time frame chart, 4 to 5 months chart, you will see this is a double bottom breakout as well. Here, and we've given a breakout over here. Also, if you look at this particular purple area that we mentioned here, it's a consolidation phase. We have seen a range breakout also happening over here. So there are multiple chart patterns on a slightly longer term and smaller time frame as well. It's given a breakout, sustain the breakout levels, retest of the breakout levels, and then again trying to move upwards. So it's a very positive sign. It can go towards 530, 540 with relative ease. One can keep a stop loss of 430 and buy Coromandel.
It's a positional call, right?
It is for a month, 3-4 weeks.
For a month, okay. 5, you say what's the target? 5?
530, 540 would be the immediate target. If you look at over here, the breadth of this can be the first target, and once that is also crossed, it can move much beyond those levels.
And what's the if it moves above that level? If someone is looking at a slightly more longish term perspective, what do you expect levels of 550?
It can go towards 590, 600 is also quite possible, because the entire this particular from 350 the breakout has happened at around 470. So 100 rupees from here cannot be ruled out.
Okay, thanks for that, Gaurav. Aditya, Coromandel?
Definitely the setup looks bullish, no two ways about it, and I would agree with Gaurav that it is poised towards new all-time highs. I would just wait for 490. I would be more comfortable above 490. Probably I can take some position at current levels and add on to the longs above 490. The moment it moves above 490, the buying momentum will again propel the stock higher to levels of 550 and higher. So definitely thumbs up as far as the trend is concerned.
Okay, thumbs up. What about you, Kunal?
Absolutely, I agree with what he has highlighted. I would start accumulating from the present level itself. On the lower side, if at all we get an opportunity to accumulate near say 460, 475, that will be icing on the cake. Expect the stock to reach 580, 590 in at least 2 quarters.
Okay, so it's a consensus bullish call that's coming in. And last stock from our guest before we move on to Yash is SAIL. Kunal, what's the sense? Steel stocks of late haven't done that well. Let's pull up SAIL. It's a buy or it's a sell?
Yeah, and if you look at the SAIL, it's always been the
you need to explain this chart.
Yeah, certainly. There are many drawings made on the chart. But now, this has always been the laggard. In almost all the rallies, this stock has always been the last performer. What I'm trying to highlight is right from 2003 and 4 till 2008, the stock was in the range of 40s and it made a high of 285, 290 levels. From there, now I'm taking the reverse retracement right from the top till the bottom. You can see that the stock actually made the high of 23.6%, which is a Fibonacci retracement. All right. This entire year of right from 2014 till 2018, the stock was in consolidation. So if I look at the broader formation, it's a clear inverse head and shoulder which is getting formed on the monthly charts of it. Now if I try to zoom into the chart and look at the last formation, this has been the fall right from the bottom of 33 to on the higher side 95. You check out the retracement, this is 78.6% of the retracement, which is again taking a support. The candle turned out to be a bullish, the bottom formation kind of candle, not bullish candle formation. If I zoom on to the RSI, just try and zoom on to the RSI indicator. So the way we saw in the price here, right from 2013 bottom, the stock is making the equal bottoms of around 40s. Look at the RSI formation, it's making higher bottoms. It's a clear accumulation kind of formation which is going on, coming back to the price pattern. So, the present level itself. And one more thing to highlight, which is Bollinger Bands. Now look at the Bollinger Bands. Whenever the stock touches the bottom, it touches the top again, which turns out to be 95. Again, bottom is tested. Right at the top, we tested the Bollinger Bands. And right now, the stock made a bottom near to the Bollinger Bands, lower support level. So keeping all things in mind, this stock can be rated as the accumulation stock. It's not jump and buy kind of situation because the candle is monthly candle. Certainly can be accumulated right from the present level on the lower side till 48. For time being, I'm keeping the stop loss of 45. We'll definitely revisit the counter once the bullish breakout comes.
Yeah, but the target as per the Bollinger looks like a doubler.
So almost 95.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Kunal. Gaurav, SAIL, it's tricky at this point of time. What sense would you put?
I agree. It is tricky, and one needs to have a little bit patience. Because it has not picked up a trend, we're trying to anticipate a trend from uptrend from here. So I would also agree with him. I'll wait for a dip towards 48.
Would you accumulate? That's
not at the current price, but any dip towards 48, 47. I would be looking out for. Keep a stop loss of 40 on the upside. The targets that he has mentioned, I would agree with that.
What about you?
I would not venture into the stock at the moment. I clearly see a downtick to first towards 48, and if it holds on to levels of 48, then probably a bounce back. RSI is continuously below that 50 mark on the weekly chart on a higher time frame chart. I would want the RSI also to move above 45, 50 for the trend to reverse. It's still in a massive downtrend. I would completely avoid it at the moment.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on the final stock sale. And before we end the show, Yash again joins us. Yash, what do you have for us?
It's a stock from your sector that you track. We're talking about Sipra, and we're using the trender indicator over here. The call is yet to get triggered, but it is within crucial levels of the trender to watch out for. It is within 1% of the trender line, which is the green line over here. The green line is at the mark of 530. The stock is at 532.85. Now, as you know how the trender works, it has to close below the mark of the trender line. So should today's move result in a closing below the mark of 530, the trender will flip its color from green to red. We've seen massive rallies on the downside when the trender has flipped its color from green to red. So watch out for Sipra. We'll ask our experts obviously about the key levels to watch out for.
Yeah, this last time it was there. It was about almost 680 or something. It moved down all the way to 500. Thanks for that, Yash. And what's the success ratio?
So the success ratio is about close to 5.5% for the trender once it flips its color on the downside for the next 1 month.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Yash. It's a call that hasn't been triggered, but what's the sense that you're getting?
So there is weakness, no two ways about that. First point. Second, 530 to about 528 is an immediate support zone. The moment it starts to trade below that support level of 528, even I'll go ahead and short the stock. It can slide all the way down to 510.
Okay, Gaurav?
There's a support at levels of 525, 526. If at all you want to short, sell below 525, target of 510, 512. On the upside can be the target of the stop loss can be 5.
Okay, so don't trade now, wait for a level.
I'll wait for it.
Kunal, what's the sense?
So no, this is a stock which has more fluctuations on the weekly chart also. So I would wait for the counter to give a spike to say 545, 550 kind of levels before shorting that. But definitely I would think of buying once it decisively closes above 550 mark.
Okay, that's the sense that we're getting in on the final stock. But with that, it's a wrap on today's edition of Hot Money. Many thanks to all of my guests, Aditya, Gaurav, Kunal. Thank you so much for coming in. Ask PQ comes up next. Stay tuned to Bloomberg Quint.